Hey, what's going on there, everybody? Caught a Truth here with some more Battlefield 3 Endgame DLC gameplay for you all. And today in this video I want to talk about the best engineer class weapon I found while playing through Endgame. Now, Endgame's only been out for about 5 days or so, so you may be thinking I'm jumping to conclusions or I'm just, getting kind of a little bit ahead of myself, but I feel like I've played Endgame enough to where I've gotten a good grasp on the maps, on how really they flow, size of them, engagement types, things like that, and I've also tried multiple engineer class weapons, and by far the one that has worked for me the best and the one I've done the best with is the Scar H. Now, my experiences and how Endgame has played out for me may be completely different than you. You may have had different just turnouts. You may have a different weapon that works better for you. Hey, that's fine. This video is mainly explaining why I think the Scar H is the best, and if you're looking for a weapon to use and you're struggling, you can't find it, you've tried, I don't know, a QBZ, you've tried something like a G36, you've tried M4, and you can't find a good gun. This is one I would recommend. Now, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about statistics, not just, do a complete weapon review, full statistical breakdown thing, because, the game's been out for a year and a half. We already know these things, but I'm talking a little bit about it, and then just kind of give my thoughts and show why I think it's just such a freaking amazing gun on these maps. Now, a couple of negative sides about the Scar, which many people just love to degrade it for, is the magazine size, which only holds 20 rounds, and the slow fire rate of 600. Now, those are not by any means good things about the weapon. Actually, though, the fire rate is something that a lot of people like to degrade about it, but personally, I feel like it's a good thing, especially on these in-game maps with really long range engagements. Now, the magazine size, like I said, is only 20 rounds, so you will be finding yourself reloading quite a bit. You'll see throughout this video, and even though it only has 20 rounds per clip, it actually reloads pretty quick. Now, it's not lightning fast. It's not an M4 reload speed, but it's around 2 seconds or so, so it's pretty quick when in terms of reload speeds, in which actually that can kind of get you out of sticky situations as opposed to something like an A91 or even like an MTAR. Those weapons, they take a long time to reload, so the Scar H in that respect has actually got a pretty quick reload time. Now, one thing I mentioned is the fire rate, and while people love to degrade this weapon for that, personally I feel like it actually helps it out some. Now, you may be wondering how or why that is. Well, the Scar H, since it has such a slow fire rate, the recoil is very easy to manage, and that is something that's huge on these in-game maps, because for the most part, I have found, especially when trying to play, not necessarily, I would say, a caution role, but more of kind of a medium between being aggressive and being defensive, you often find yourself in very long-range engagements. And so if you have a weapon that's got very high recoil, it's going to be hard to control, and especially if you get into a one-on-one gunfight. If you under suppression, your recoil goes up, and weapons like M4A1, MTAR, A91, they're harder to control. Now, they're by no means impossible, and you can definitely control them, but they're going to be more difficult than the Scar H. Now, its vertical recoil, some people like to point out, is very high to 0.5. Well, yes, that is true. It does have a very low first shot recoil. So the first shot recoil, for those of you that don't know, basically the first time you fire a weapon, guns that have a higher first shot recoil, it's going to kick harder on that first initial shot with every burst. And so for the Scar H, if you burst fire with the weapon, you're not going to notice nearly as hard of a kick every time you burst as you would with other weapons. And that is something kind of to go along with the slow fire rates that is actually very good about this weapon, and something I really like. It's very easy to control at range. Now, this is a particular engagement in which you don't do this. Look, I'm probably one of the stupidest things I've ever done in my life. You just run straight at the guy. I mean, how dumb can you get? Don't ever do that. I know he was up there. He probably knew somebody was chasing him. Just wait. Just hold back. And I would have played, and I may have come out of that engagement as the winner instead of loser right there. But like I said, don't ever chase after somebody like that. That's one rule in Battlefield 3, which, I'm still finding myself doing all the time, and it's something that it's a very hard habit to break just because you want to go after that kill. But as you can see, situations like that kind of reminds you of why you shouldn't be doing that. Now, one of the final things I love about the Scar is got to be that damage stats. The 30 max damage and 20 minimum is the highest for the engineer class, and that is definitely awesome, especially when it comes to range. It's going to be a 5-shot kill to kill your enemies at range, and especially with that very low, for the most part, low recoil combined with the slow fire rate, it's going to allow you to stay on target at long range and get those easy kills, which is something that is very, very important in in-game, because for the most part, as you can see, I find engagements from about right there where I killed that guy and past is where most of the time it's going to take place at. Now, if you're defending around a flag for capture the flag game mode, they may end up being a little bit more close quarters, But on Conquest, even parts of Rush, things like that, it's going to be a little bit more at range, and so that's really where the Scar thrives, and that's something in which I'd recommend staying at those types of ranges in order to play to the strengths of this weapon. Now, in terms of attachments, you saw me running with a foregrip a little bit earlier on. That's just because I ended up running out of ammo when I had Scar of the previous life, so I just picked it up off of an enemy. But you really don't need a foregrip. Now, if it helps you control the weapon, if you do better with the foregrip, then by all means use it. It's something I've always told you guys. Whatever attachments you find yourself doing the best with on a gun, use them. Don't use what statistically is the best. Use the ones that work for you. Personally, I find a reflex sights and no foregrip or bipod. I mean, you can put a bipod on if you want, and the heavy barrel. It just kind of complements the Scar. I feel the heavy barrel really does, and it's whatever scope you want, holographic, Cobra, reflex, and I find that this weapon really does amazing with this, but like I said, use whatever setup you find to work the best for you. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. I know it's a little bit short because I'm actually really quick, if you guys are still watching this, I'm kind of deciding if I want to do kind of a tactics breakdown for each class, kind of give a guide in terms of equipment setup, things like that. Let me know what you guys think of that down below in the comment section if I should do that or not. Hopefully you enjoyed. See you next time. Bye.